Someone got to explain to me why a National Player of the Year award is being announced the day after the last regular season game in college women's basketball. Someone has to explain this logic to me because these awards are not based on just the regular season. In fact, the conference tournaments are actually part of the season. Last I checked, they don't typically announce most of these awards until either the end of the season, like during the Final Four weekend, or after the season's over. From what I recall, I've never seen an award given the day after the season just ended. But that's what the Athletic did in naming Juju Watkins as National Player of the Year, but not just naming her National Player of the Year, naming her National Player in unanimous fashion. I need someone to explain this to me. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Rudy's Rant, powered by Coming On the Podcast. I am your host, Rudy Rodriguez Showmont, aka Rudy the Hammer. We talk facts over feelings here. For those of you who are back again, I appreciate y'all. Like the video, leave a comment. Make sure you ring that bell so you get all the up-to-minute notifications. If those of you who are new, please be sure to like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment. I'm not sitting here. I'm not sitting here saying that Juju Watkins does not have merit to be named National Player of the Year. Any of them, for that matter. I'm not saying that by at all. By any means, am I even remotely inferring that Juju Watkins does not have an argument to be the National Player of the Year. She is a tremendous basketball player. What I am arguing is that, number one, it seems almost unfathomable that she would be a unanimous selection for this award, and that the award is literally named the day after USC, or not the day after, but the day after the last regular season game took place across the country. I believe USC and UCLA played on Saturday. USC did beat UCLA again, this time at UCLA. So that's definitely a good point for Juju Watkins and her candidacy. They weren't undefeated. She had some tough times during this season. It wasn't like she was without error or fault or anything like that. There was a good stretch of play where she was shooting like 35% from the field in Big Ten play. And realistically, she didn't finish with numbers that were all that different from last year. In fact, her numbers and points were far 3 points less per game. Assists, not what was it, assist? Let me see what it was. The assists were a bit more. The rebounds were down. Blocks were a bit more. Steals were down. And she averaged 24.4 points to 27.1 points last year. Her field goal percentage was just a tad bit better at 42.9. For someone who's 6'2" and takes the majority of her shots closer to the basket, it seems a bit much to me that she would be named this as a unanimous selection. Again, 2 days after this final game versus UCLA, there are holes. There just are. There's holes, and I don't understand how they can come up with this that quickly. I just don't. It doesn't sit well with me. It almost seems like it was a predetermined thing for the Athletic, trying to make a splash to potentially influence other publications. That's what it seems like to me. It almost seems like a setup, because while she did play her best game was against UCLA in that first game. Without question, her best game was that game. But when you look at other games that she played, it's not. She had a real rough stretch where her field goal percentage really plummeted a great deal. I can just read some off to you. I mean, if you look at it, her best game was against UCLA when she had 38 and 11. She had a good game against them on Saturday, 30 points. She had 3 rebounds, 5 assists. She's at 45.5 from the field. She did step up her play versus UCLA, but if you look at Ohio State, they won by 21, but she played like trash. She played well versus Michigan State. She did not shoot the ball well at all versus Illinois. And then you look at other games like Wisconsin with 14 points. The Iowa game, she did not play well in. The Minnesota game, she was terrible in. The Purdue game, not very good. Indiana, the Penn State game was probably the second best game besides that first UCLA game. Maryland, they won, but she shot 37%. Rutgers, she shot 35%. There's a lot of these bad shooting games in this stretch. She played well versus UConn. Notre Dame, she was not good. She got outplayed by Hannah Hidalgo. So there are a lot of holes. And I think this was an award that genuinely could have been given to a number of people, including Juju Watkins. She's definitely a candidate and in the conversation. But to just sit here and say that she was a unanimous winner, is it a committee of one? I don't know who the committee is. Like, that's the thing that these publications do, and I think we're learning that they are all tremendously biased to an agenda that they want to accomplish. Because if I'm looking at other potential candidates, I think Lauren Betts played her way out of it. She doesn't have the numbers, and UCLA losing twice to SC did not help UCLA at all. They've got 2 losses. Both of them are to USC, and both in the last 6 games. They could see each other in the Big Ten championship, and they might get their revenge there. But I think that she probably played herself out of it. I don't really think she was a major candidate for it to begin with. Lauren Betts, Hannah Hidalgo. I did criticize her recently. I talked about a lot of holes in her game. But if we're looking at a season, like, we're not looking at individual games, we're looking at a season. Hannah Hidalgo was more consistent throughout the season. And that's what you have to consider, besides just saying, okay, maybe Juju Watkins had the most impressive game of the season. And I can't say that for sure, without having to do a deeper dive into this topic. But so, for example, Hidalgo had a rough stretch the last 4 or 5 games as well. But Juju Watkins' stretch went like a month and a half. She finished at 24.2 points, but she shot 46.4% from the field. She's a 5'6" guard. She shot way better from 3. She's an 86% free throw shooter. So there are a number of things that go into this. She shot, goodness. She finishes around the basket better than Juju Watkins. I mean, and that's crazy considering she's 5'6". So you have her, and then look, I'm not going to sit here and diminish Paige Bueckers. I mean, I don't think she is one that should have won this award, but it's surprising how she was just completely forgotten. I think most people would agree that it is a little surprising. How is Tania Latson from Florida State not in this discussion? Leading the country in scoring at 25.4. How? They just beat Notre Dame this past week. At Notre Dame, no less. She shot 46% from the field, 35.5 from 3, 82 from the line. Does not have a fraction of the talent around her that Juju Watkins has around her, or that Hannah Hidalgo has around her. Leads the country in scoring. She is FSU. They're 23-7. She is that Florida State team. You take her off that team isn't worth dog shit. That's reality. So, yeah, I thought you had 4. I mean, let's see who else could have been considered for this conversation. I do think that there's arguments to be made for some other players. I do think that the 3 top ones were Hidalgo, Watkins, and Latson, with Paige Bueckers on the outside. I think I'm a big Flau'Jae Johnson fan. People don't know. I mean, she averaged 19, 6, 2.5, 46.5% from the field, 37.2 from 3. She didn't play that game that they just lost to Mississippi. They're 27-4. They're a legit squad. She's a top shelf defensive player. She's the best athlete in the country, in my opinion. She's the best overall player in the country, in my opinion, and the best athlete. And she's on a team that has no size. That's what makes what LSU's done is so crazily impressive to me, is that they are on a team, they have a team with no size at all. Their big is 6'2". You're talking about you're playing a team that's what would be their downfall at the end of it, but they can go with anybody. And so I am surprised that she's not even in the discussion. And then you have at Texas, I mean, look at what they've done. 29-2. They're number one ranked in the country. Madison Bueckers averaging 16 a game, 6.5, 2.9, 46.5 field goal percentage, 84.6 from the free throw line, almost 42% from three. Number one team in the country. I just think that overall, if you're going to be giving out awards, first of all, you need to freaking put out your name of who the hell you are, how the hell you're a committee, and no one knows who's on the committee because I've Googled it, I've checked. I can't find who's on the athletic committee. Maybe it's who the hell knows who it is. But for Juju Watkins to get named unanimous National Player of the Year by the Athletic, it almost is like the Athletic is doing some clout chasing, trying to jump ahead of other people so people notice it and maybe they influence the bigger National Player of the Year awards, like the Naismith one, which is the one that really, really matters. That is the true National Player of the Year. But I think it's a little surprising that they come out with this the day after the last game of the season, not to mention this unanimous thing, which makes me think this is probably a committee of one or a very, very small committee of people that were already very, very biased towards Juju Watkins. Again, this is not taken away from her ability, her skill, her success, but she's the worst player of all of them from the field. Like if I give you Hannah Hidalgo, Paige Bueckers, Madison Booker, Lauren Betts, who I don't think she needed to be in there. But Madison Booker, Hannah Hidalgo, Paige Bueckers, Flau'Jae Johnson, Tania Latson. That's 5 players. You give me those 5 players. Juju Watkins is not just the worst of them when it comes to shooting percentage. She's the worst by far. Like we're talking 3 percentage points separate them. 3 percentage points separate her from the next. From the field and from 3. From 3, she was 33.9. Like she's not in the conversation comparatively. Like she's not efficient. And that's goes back to the conversation that I'm talking about where I said she had a very lengthy stretch of bad games. They won, but she wasn't the reason and she wasn't good. I don't care if you have 22 points or 24 points. If you shot 6 of 24, you didn't play well. You didn't play well. It's that simple. So those are my thoughts on this. I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised. But again, this is par for the course when you're trying to create something that doesn't actually exist. You're trying to create a superstar, a megastar, when you got to let it flow organically. And if it flows organically, it will happen. But when you're force feeding an issue and you're forcing it down someone's throat and you're telling people this is what it is, that's just not what it is. If I have to tell you, then it's not real. But nonetheless, congratulations to Juju Watkins. That was a big win on Saturday. I didn't see the game. I'm completely forthright. I did not see the game. I saw they won by 13, 14 points. Huge, huge win. I saw that basically she was the reason they won that game. She was the reason they won that game. She's the reason they won both those UCLA games. No question about it. And I think that UCLA had them as a national champion, but if they face USC, they're probably going to lose again. I don't know, man. It's a bad matchup for UCLA. That's the one real bad matchup. And I thought Iowa should have beat UCLA also, but they kind of gave it away, and the officials with that foul on Lucy Olson at the end was just outrageous. But you let me know your thoughts in the comments on this award for Juju Watkins. Again, I'm not dismissing or diminishing her ability, her skill, her talent, and I'm not even saying that she shouldn't have won it. I'm saying that unanimous, unanimous. Yeah, that's why it's like if you get how many voters are there? There's 15 voters. You tell me all 15 of them said Juju Watkins. I would say they need to have their flipping. They need to be drug tested because there's no way that we have 15 people that agree on that. There's no way. And I'm not even sitting here saying that Hannah Hidalgo should have won it. I think the most important player to her team is Tania Latson, which to me generally makes you the most valuable or the potentially the national player of the year. And I think the best player of them all is Flau'Jae Johnson. I've said that for quite some time. She's the most complete player of all of them. But those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, hit that bell, leave a comment. I appreciate y'all. Remember, Member Live tomorrow night, 9 p.m. 9 p.m. Members Live. I will see you soon. This is Rudy's Rant. Come on now.